Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. We are proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. Some of our programs are recorded and some of our programs are made available for viewing through a YouTube channel for future use. I am Martha Brown, your host for today's activities. Today we are presenting Peggy Spear with the Amon Carter Museum of American Art. Peggy's going to introduce us to the word industrial as it applies to their collection. Peggy, I understand you have lots to show us. Take it away.
All right, let me pull this bad boy up. Am I sharing my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. All right. So as you can imagine, industry in America is, as some artists feel and many people feel, are part of what makes America democracy America. So this is a very popular theme in American art history in all sorts of mediums. So we're going to look at some of the some artwork that's currently on view, which is really cool, and then other pieces that have been on view in the past, but because of the nature of their medium are now resting. So you probably won't see them for a very long time on our walls. All right, so we're going to start here with this oil on canvas entitled Conversation, Earth and Sky. What are we looking at?
Hoover Dam.
Hoover Dam!
Oh my goodness.
Nail on the head. That's exactly. How did you know it was the Hoover Dam?
The time frame was right, and just the setting looks like it was probably in was it Nevada? Is that where it is? Nevada somewhere, because the rocks and how big the dam is.
Yeah. So this is the Hoover Dam. It's in Black Canyon, which is right over the Colorado River, between Arizona and Nevada. So, have any of you ever been to the Hoover Dam before?
Yes.
Oh, dang, all of you have been. Okay, well, I have not been. So you guys might be giving me an education since I have not been. Okay, so this was painted in 1940. The artist, Charles Sheeler, was commissioned by the magazine Fortune.
This looks like a photograph.
Well, okay, so you're picking up on something that, yes, it's very clear. This is so clear.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, but I just had to blurt that out.
No, and I'm glad you said that, because what he did is he went to different hydraulic plants and dams and things like this in New York, Alabama, and Nevada. And he took photographs at all different vantage points and then went back to his studio and ended up painting when he was there. So this is a number of photographs he took that he created this vantage point, this angle where he was able to get this precision. So it really does have that illusion of being a photograph.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, when you're to see this in person, and the size is 28 by 23. So it's a decent size. It's almost like you see no brush strokes at all. His hand was so precise that you don't see much of the artist's hand
Right.
in this artwork. And so he was commissioned to do 6 paintings that focus on the theme power or industrial power in the United States. And so Hoover Dam was one of the American industries focuses of power that he concentrated on.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, that's, of course, the article was celebrating the industrial power in the United States. So here there's almost a sense of supernatural or miraculous. I mean, it's really glorifying the technology and the capability of what this dam can do.
There was a lot of tragedy with it too, because there was a number of deaths as it was being built.
Oh yeah.
Because there was so much concrete, sometimes people fell in, they couldn't get out.
Yeah.
Get on top of them.
Yep.
Right. And plus you're dealing with heat conditions. I mean, you're in the desert.
Mhm.
So yeah, this was a real celebration of American ingenuity when this was built, constructed. So one of my dear friends works in the electrical industry, and she gave us a quick little talk about this artwork and tied to the electrical industry. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to play her video. You should hear the sound. If not, it's only about a minute long. It is closed caption or open caption. So if you can't hear it, you will be able to follow along.
All right.
Initially looking at this painting and learning that it was commissioned in the 1940s, I was surprised. The transmission tower in the forefront of the painting is not an unfamiliar sight near any electric power source, because we are actually still using the same technology to this day. They probably didn't realize then that this form of hydroelectricity would remain one of the most sustainable some 80 years later. The generation can power surrounding grids immediately, unlike coal-fired plants, and provides backup generation during major outages that fossil fuels cannot. Control of flooding was the primary concern in the building of the Hoover Dam. Power generation has enabled the dam to remain self-sustaining via earnings from the sale of power to Southern California, Nevada, and Arizona. The initial profits repaid the 50-year construction loan and finances the dam and power station's maintenance to this day.
So just a quick little about, but it's really cool that this, that she made the point. This is still the same technology today as it was when it was built for the 40s.
Peggy, may I show you a picture of this same water? So this is Lake Mead, right?
Yes.
No. Is it? I don't know. Black Canyon is all I have written down.
Yeah, it's Lake Mead.
Okay. I have a picture of Lake Mead as it was originally done and the water level now.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible. I mean, that's a dam that's not be able to make electricity anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It's from 1983 to 2022. Thank you for letting me show you that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Gosh, man, I'm sure so many dams across the country look like that right now.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So anyway, Hoover Dam, that's so cool that all of y'all have been, and now you can relive your trip at the museum. This is actually on view, and it's right on view directly next to this painting. And this is Chimney and Water Tower. So, what do you see the chimney and the water tower?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They do. No doubt about it.
Yeah, front and center. I mean, he makes this again, or this is another Charles, but a different Charles. This is Charles Demuth. And he's painting on a completely different side of the country. This is, we were actually just talking about this. This is Lancaster or Lancaster. It looks like Lancaster, but you say Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Yep. My brother went to Penn State, and so he was talking about, you could always tell the out-of-staters would say Lancaster instead of Lancaster. So he was correcting people. So annoying. Anyway, but this is I want to make sure I'm getting it right, a linoleum plant.
Ooh.
So we're seeing all sorts of industry today, totally different. But what feels similar to the last painting that we saw?
No people.
It's very industrial looking.
In what sense?
In that it's got all the elements of a water tower to provide cooling for whatever process they have, a smokestack to deal with power generation or waste or something like that.
Yeah, and, like you're seeing the most important elements of what that factory is, kind of like you were seeing the electric lines that were very crucial to the dam. You're also getting that sense of the monumentality of this structure. Got a lot of sky in the background again. So you get that sense that it's really protruding. It really has a presence. And we're also seeing it from kind of a funny vantage point. With the dam, we were down low looking up at the dam and then the sky above it. Here, it's almost like we're on a 2 or 3 story building and we're looking out as we can see the roof right here of another building. So we're not quite street level, but we're not on the same level as the towers.
And there's other smokestacks that look like they need to go somewhere too.
Right here.
Little ones, yeah.
And it feels, and the same way with the last one, there were a lot of, power lines kind of bisecting and creating very angular motions. Here, even more so, we're seeing those very geometric planes and shapes. How do you think that contributes to this depiction of an industrial location?
It's kind of an abstract.
Yeah, it is definitely abstract. You are very right.
There's a lot of older scenes like this in a lot of smaller communities through America. Where I lived in North Carolina, they actually had a paper mill for a while. And it was interesting because they had the water tower and they hit the main chimney, but the fire for the chimney did 2 things. One, heated the water for the paper process, but also created steam for the electrical generators at the same time. And then they had a water cooling tower next to the water tower. Okay, so as the water came out of the generators, which was hot, they put it through the cooling tower to cool it down and come back up again all the way through. So it was a very interesting design and process. And so I've been through some of these like this, just exactly what it looks like inside them, inside the plants and how they're working.
So you're speaking to a very precise process. Everything had to function in order for the next thing to be correctly done. And with these artists using, and we'll see it in the next few too, these very precise lines, these very plain, flat planes, it's speaking to that rigidness and preciseness that has to happen for these factories to work. It gives you this sense of order. It gives you a sense of everything is in its spot and it butts up or plays right next to what it needs to do.
And this time, 1931, the smoke coming out of the smokestack was very different than it would be like in the 1990s.
Yes.
Because of the filtering.
Yeah, and emissions. I mean, think of all of the laws now that are in place for emissions and
the scrubbers and everything else that have to do.
Yeah, that technology. I mean, even from 1931 to 1940, you know that these things were constantly changing.
That's what actually put some of the companies out of business because they had to put so much technology into what was a profitable company that then made it unprofitable. Because they had to have so much technology to order to do the same process.
The retrofitting was expensive.
Yes, it was very expensive.
Hey, Peggy.
Yeah.
One other thing historically, looking back, is that in all likelihood, in 1931, they were using asbestos in their linoleum.
Yes, they were.
And so there's a whole nother environmental hazard going on here.
Man, that's such a good point.
Not
You're
only
right.
environmental with the lungs and everything else, because asbestos. There's still, like when I was teaching in Richardson, I wanted to redo my room. It had carpet in it. I didn't want it because of the stuff I do in my room, so I pulled it up. The old green linoleum underneath, but they couldn't take the linoleum up because it had asbestos in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so even though some of it was cracked, they just had to find old linoleum.
Yeah,
put in there.
Put over it. Yeah,
because they couldn't take it up. And every place in the building, if you did anything going into a ceiling, you had to make sure they had asbestos abatement, all of that stuff. It was really and it wasn't a real old building, but it was old enough.
Right. Well, and then, and that's part of, as we're seeing, and as I was kind of learning through like the documentation of all of the industry, that was quickly changing in the United States, but it was the fact that like, hey, look what we're making. Like we're making linoleum, like this biohazard, physical hazard be damned, or we don't even know we're doing that. We're still doing this. And so, I mean, like you said, the black smoke, you would, that would be an alert to somebody if we were seeing that today. So
even when I was growing up, having a linoleum floor in your house was very fashionable.
Yeah.
Because it was easy maintenance, and looked nice.
No wax.
Yeah, sheet linoleum tiles.
Yep.
Yeah.
The sheet linoleum, it was very fashionable because it was very easy to install.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to stay in Pennsylvania, but we're going to another part of Pennsylvania.
Ooh.
We're going, oh wait, we'll skip to it. We'll go back. But this is Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I dated a guy once who went to college at Lehigh in Bethlehem. And man, that was a fun school, but there was not much going on in that town. It's a steel mill town. I mean, it was a very industrial feeling town. Without the college, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And so here we're looking at, shocker, a steel mill.
Yeah.
Are you picking up on some of those same markers that we've seen in the other ones? What are some of the repeat themes we're seeing?
The smokestacks, the conformity, the uniformity of it.
Yeah.
No people.
No people.
Yeah. But this here is so much more depressing looking
Yeah,
than
it
the
is.
other ones.
It
Makes
is.
me want to cough.
Yeah,
Yes.
you feel the heaviness of the sky with the smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And what's making you feel that kind of heavy feeling, Yetta?
It's so dark, and I mean, I don't even know if it's the sun or the moon that is out.
Yes.
Everything looks like it's covered in soot.
It does. And if it's the sun, I mean, it's not really shining.
Yeah. I mean,
this is 1927, so it probably was pretty dark.
Yeah.
And Pennsylvania, kind of like Maryland, like any real Northeast area, depending on the time of year it is, it's just gray from like October to like March. It's just that like cloud coverage of kind of heavy gray and and it's a blue collar. I mean, like any, in blue collar, it's got that kind of feel to it. It feels like a gritty place to be. The medium, I think, really speaks to that. It's etching, so you can get some of that stippling in, that line in, that contributes to the grit and the dirt. The way the last couple of artists made it so smooth and pristine and very clear. It's two different types of industries, which, water power is probably a little cleaner.
It is, yeah.
It is a lot cleaner than what we're seeing in a steel mill,
Yeah.
I would think go ahead, Steve.
They both have their drawbacks.
Yeah.
Pros and cons, hydro seems clean, but it causes environmental issues too.
That's right.
Because the water coming out of the turbines is hot going into the river. The fish, the water life.
I never thought of that, Steve.
Around there, sometimes they have to, paying on the dam, they have to pay, where the dam is, they have to put ladders for the fish to go back up to the breeding ground, spawning ground.
Wow.
There's all sorts of things there with it. Where they don't have the coal emissions and things like that, but there are still issues. Though it is probably, I think, at one point in time in the world, hydro was the most produced electricity in the world at one point in time. Hydro. Yeah. I don't think it is quite anymore. Of course, it still could be because of some of the big dams in China and places like that in Africa or in Egypt, as well as the United States. Though coal is still a big producer all over the place. and nuclear.
Nuclear, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of other countries in the world are more reliant on nuclear than we have become.
And nuclear is actually not as, how do you say, it's safer than some of the others.
Yes.
It's just that you have to be you have to
Except for when it blows up.
manufacture the very strict standards, okay? And even though we had 3 Mile Island in America, we never really had a disaster like Chernobyl.
That's right.
But it kind of put a scare. They started stop making nuclear, but I think it would be a lot cheaper in the long run, a lot more dependable than some of the others.
But nuclear engineering has one big drawback is that its waste product is radioactive for thousands of years.
Now that they've been able to reuse some of that waste again.
Oh, that's good.
And so they're working a kind of almost a recycling process within some of the nuclear industry to help work through that aspect.
And oh, go ahead, Martha.
In looking at this particular picture, I would think that the artist almost had to be a little angry to make this as dark as he did. Just my observation.
Definitely a commentary there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mood. There's no doubt it's a mood created. So this was printed through, and we've seen art from this company in the past, the American Artist Group. And this was a greeting card. First, they were a greeting card company, but then they also started popularizing contemporary American artists that were working in lithographs, etching, printing, things like that, that were reproductions and then mass distributed. So this particular thing was extremely American, and something that, and he's working in a very modern style. Again, we're seeing some of those abstractions. We're seeing that geometric layering of shapes, and that people could have purchased. So, this might have been a real hit in Pennsylvania because we're in steel country there, or it might have been a real put off for people in Pennsylvania because it's steel country, So Americans got to decide if this is something they wanted to hang in their house or not.
Do you think it might be night because the lights are on inside the factory?
It could be.
Oh, good.
That's the sense I'm leaning towards. To me, my read on it was industry doesn't sleep.
Okay, that's what I was getting.
That's true. That's good.
That's what I was getting. I was making sure I was getting it right.
Yeah, no, I think that is the depiction, but it's in black and white, so it really is up for interpretation. All right, we'll go back to our Gulf oil.
Yes, that's actually natural gas.
Natural gas.
Enter gas, yeah. Gas has now entered the conversation. So here we've got 2 orbs, the oil refinery. This oil refinery is south of Beaumont, Texas, right on the Louisiana-Texas border. I think it's Sabine Lake. Is that the lake? Anyway, Edward Weston was a very well-known American photographer. His son, Brett Weston, was also a very well-known photographer. But this photograph is one from a larger series that he took when he went down. Weston often was depicting American landscape. He fell in the same group with Ansel Adams and Imogen Cunningham. And so he was asked to take pictures to put together a pictorial depiction of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. And so,
what's that again? I didn't understand you.
Weston was asked to travel the country, particularly the middle of the country, to take pictures to put together for an illustrated version of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass.
That's okay.
So, did someone say something? No. So anyway, so this picture I don't believe is in the larger Leaves of Grass illustrated version, but there are other pictures from his trip to this oil refinery that did make it in that book. And so anyway, he was just really interested in, again, we're seeing it now in a photograph, geometric shapes, planes, the sky, these monuments cutting the sky, so it's a trope that follows throughout all of these depictions of how powerful the industry is. I mean, and it's oil and gas. So like the industry particularly is what runs the world. So here we're seeing another aspect of industry. And in Texas, I mean, my husband's oil and gas, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. So, okay, so this is Weston, and we've got one more, which I just think it's cool angle, called grain elevator.
Grain elevators, yeah.
Oh, okay. I had to look at the angle. Get it
He's looking up.
From the ground up, going up.
Looking up. So this artist, he traveled from Germany to the Americas. He did a 3-year tour from South America up to North America and ended his travels in Chicago. And so this is a grain silo or a grain elevator in Chicago. And so he was walking around the factory and was just enamored by again, we're looking up, we're seeing these massive structures cutting the sky. I mean, the dry point doesn't lend itself nicely to seeing the sky, but that's what's past what we're looking at, the sky. And he was just fascinated because this was not what he was used to seeing in Germany. It's a totally different ball game over here in the United States. And so here we are seeing from his perspective an angle that just really stuck with him. And you can see that.
What are those? Are they bridges or what are those?
Those are the ways to move grain from one silo to another.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he I want to make sure I'm reading it right. So he again was really interested in the abstract shapes and patterns. He was some people credit him, this particular artist, as the person who brought Bauhaus, which is an art style, to America. It was particularly a German art style that focused on geometric and abstract shapes with no connection to really any historical movement or emotional convey of anything. Just pretty dry, pretty
industrial.
Yeah, it felt very industrial. And if you've been to Germany or if you've seen pictures of Germany, you can see there was a real, particularly in architecture, a very big movement in this Bauhaus style, where it's very hard lines and blocks of color or blocks of just building within building. So it's, once you see what Bauhaus looks like, then you see, oh yeah, I can see that here too.
Can someone talk about the items on the left top? The little.
I was wondering about that too.
Any idea?
What do you think?
They look like catwalks to me, or like.
They could be catwalks, or they could be motors that help drive. But again, I think they're more like catwalks. I like they're catwalks. Yeah.
It could be where they.
Go ahead.
They sometimes have the augers to take it to the top.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes that could be the opening area for the auger.
Yeah.
Good point.
Open up and they could dump it in.
Or bring it up, depending on which way they want to go.
There. Okay, they can't go from the bottom and up. That's almost physically impossible.
Oh, I got you. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. So big augers to take it up from the ship or from the trucks to the top and then dump it down into the silos.
Yeah.
Thank you. These silos remind me of the movie Witness.
Oh yeah.
Kelly.
Amish country.
Yes. Harrison Ford.
Yes.
Yeah. There was a fight scene where a guy gets caught.
Yeah, in the
grain.
He gets sucked down in the grain. Yes, bad. That happens too in real life.
That happens every harvest where we're from.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It's dangerous. Agricultural business is dangerous, really.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys are all making a really good point. We're not, as you pointed out, we're really not seeing people. I mean, this one alludes to people because we're seeing lights on. But none of this speaks to the danger that these industries live with every single day. The people who are running it. It's more of the glorifying of where America is and what.
That's right.
You know,
bye, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye, Steve.
Bye.
Bye.
The glorifying of the being able to create such stately forms.
Exactly.
Yeah, these are all hard jobs.
They are.
Dangerous
Very
jobs.
dangerous jobs.
Yeah. I mean, and even to this day, these are still bad jobs. So you can imagine what they were when there weren't really any laws in place. Or
No OSHA.
Yeah, exactly. No OSHA exists then. So it's really just focusing on the power of America and the capability of America, but not the lie. It's not honoring the people who are actually making it all run. So you guys, that is, and you're picking up on a theme that is often portrayed in these industrial artworks. And then there's a shift where then, like Heinz, we've looked at the photographer Heinz a lot, where it's the children working, or young men working in really dangerous conditions in industrial factories, where it's like, oh yeah, we need to change what's happening because this is not okay. But before we got there, this is where we were.
Child labor and no unions and bad conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was our industrial look.
All right. Nice.
We are back next week with, flags. So
Flags.
That'll be fun.
Flags.
We'll see what we can drum up. And
you'll be in the Dominican Republic, won't you?
Yeah.
Oh, you will? How fun.
We will, yes.
Oh, well, enjoy every second of that. We'll miss you guys.
Oh, thank you.
We will be sure and record it, Yetta and Hans.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I can't remember what's happening next month. We're also doing, I guess then the following week, we're doing, we have an exhibition right now on Venetian glass.
Ooh.
And so we're gonna, it's art paintings of Venice and then actual products of Venice. So we're gonna be looking at that exhibition, and we have a live artist who is blowing glass here at the museum, and then these like long strands, almost they're kind of like hair light, but they're 2 stories long, and then hanging them from an installation that's in our main gallery. So that will be when you get back. So we'll look at what's on view in a couple of weeks.
Great, Peggy.
All right, friends. Well, have a good rest of your week. Safe travels, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.
Monday? You say Monday?
You said Peggy
Wednesday. Okay, good.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. She knows what she wants to do, doesn't she? Well, let's take a look at what's coming up, and then we'll stop for Fifth Street Cafe.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here we have Industrial with Peggy. At 11:30, Heather is doing Flashback, which is looking at pictures from our childhoods and talking about how we feel. And at 1:30, Nia Moving to Heal with Emily. Tomorrow, Thursday, we have bingo all day long.
All day long. All right.
Yes.